Hello and welcome to another episode of Recliner Wrestling Review. Your host here, Jared and John. John, how are you doing today, man?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm ready to talk some WCW.
Yeah, are you?
I had to. So yes, this special episode, this is our first fan request. This one comes to us from Nick Opalski. I hope I'm saying that right, from New Haven, Michigan. Thank you very much, Nick, for the suggestion.
Opalski.
There you go. That's the one. That's
Thanks,
him.
Nick.
Yes. Before we jump into things here,
Nick picked Superbrawl 3, 1993.
He did, and Nick tells me that this is his favorite pay-per-view of the entire year in 1993. So, this better be good. Well, or was it? We'll tell you.
Was it?
What's funny is he messaged me too and said, "Hey, have you watched it yet?" Yeah, halfway through. I'm gonna finish cooking dinner or whatever, and then I'll watch it at. Okay, 3 hours later, like on the dot. Hey, how was it? And I'm like, you're gonna have to wait and see. So, Nick, here we go.
Okay, before this, had you seen it before?
Nope.
Me either.
Good, nice. This will be fun then.
Yeah.
Did you know anything about it before?
No.
Same.
I saw the main event. I go, okay, let's give it a try.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not sure what to think about this Sting and Vader matchup, but they did it. So we'll get into it. Be sure to like this video, share it with your tag team partners, and hit your finisher on that subscribe button, brother. Ooh yeah, dig it. Here at Superbrawl, February 21st, 1993. The attendance was 6,500 in the Asheville Civic Center from Asheville, North Carolina. And we start the show with a build-up, just a cold open to the main event with Vader choking and whipping Sting in the ring pretty violently and viciously, especially for 93. Some crazy visuals. So then we go to ringside and we get Eric Bischoff with Missy Hyatt. And so I'm going to stop right here because I have a question since I hit play on this episode, it's been burning in my head. Is that a green screen that they're in front of, or are they like in, like, I cannot figure that out for the life of me. If they're there in the audience or if it's green screened in or what.
I'm not sure. I mean, I thought I had the same thought where I went back and forth throughout the show. Like, is it a green screen or is this live? I'm not. I still don't know.
Same. Well, they were there, and but they were feeling, they needed one more member with them. So out comes Johnny B. Bad to, I don't know, it's not even commentary. It's like the Throw To people, the Throw To crew. That's what I'll call them. Yeah. So they throw to Jesse Ventura and Tony Schiavone looking, I mean, like a baby, down at ringside as your commentators. So
Tony Schiavone, not Jesse.
Yeah. No, Jesse's always looked like a 50-year-old man. So then we go from there. They throw to in the ring for our national anthem, which is played by Max Payne. A lot of you might know him previously from his run in WWF. He had the WWF logo guitar. Can't remember what his name was, but he was a guitar player guy.
Big Mountain Rock?
That's the one. Thank you for doing homework, John. You're picking up my slack.
Hey, so once a show.
There you go. I'll take it. So we start off the first match after our national anthem from Max Payne with Eric Watts and Marcus Bagwell, who, by the way, was that year's WCW Magazine Rookie of the Year. Again. I think he did. I think he won it a handful of times. But anyway, so
okay.
So then they go against Steve Austin and Brian Pillman, who are not yet the Hollywood Blondes, but just about. So that was kind of neat to see the precursor to what was to come. So we have yeah, I got notes and stuff.
Okay.
So
They were pretty much there with the Hollywood Blonde. Steve was doing the camera roll thing, but I don't think they were by name at that point.
Correct. Yeah. And I don't think they did that until after the match was over, when they win and stand outside the ring. You can see them doing all that. But let's see here. Eric Watts was working most of the match, and then Buff finally got in via a hot tag. There were 10 shots to Pillman in the corner. Pillman didn't sell a single one of those shots, which kind of drove me nuts. And Pillman ended up getting the win, and they became the new number 1 contenders for the tag team titles.
That's your notes?
That's all I got.
My thoughts on this, because I was not watching WCW in '93. My thoughts were Eric Watts. How do I know Eric Watts? And I was going like, it's got to be Bill's kid. Yeah. That was like my first thought. And then I like threw it in the Google on my phone, started looking him up, and I was like, oh, he was in like 2005 TNA with like
oh really?
A stable of like failed, the lesser known of second generation kids, and I was like, that's how I know Eric Watts. So
gotcha.
It was just really,
I didn't realize he had a TNA run.
Yeah, roundabout. Like he had a WWF run as well, but it's like I forgot all about him. I'm like, how do I know this guy? And it was 2005 TNA, but kind of forgettable there too.
Yeah.
It was weird seeing Buff as just a little baby. I mean Marcus, but it's Buff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought those two, it was weird. Whatever. I mean, I didn't remember them as a team ever, so that was interesting. Pillman and Austin with hair, like saying somebody pulled his hair, really popped me.
Yeah, it still freaks me out to see him with hair. I know it exists, but
I thought they looked great. Then my only issue was the finish was like a forearm off the top rope.
Yeah, there was
weird. Like kind of a weak finish, and then it comes back in later on in the show as well. So it's just like, what is happening in '93?
Right.
But yeah, like it was cool to see these guys, but yeah, nothing really jumped out to me other than trying to figure out who Eric Watts was and how do I know him other than Bill's kid.
Right. A couple other things that I wanted to point out. First of all, Eric is very green, and it really kind of showed. He even at one point puts on a Boston Crab, but doesn't sit down. So imagine he's just holding his legs here and literally almost standing straight up. And so commentary talks about it, and he's like, well, I think he's working a different part of the back, or he says something to the effect anyway, that he doesn't have it on correctly. And then there was another spot that kind of drove me nuts where Austin gets tagged to Pillman, and the ref's back is turned, and he's like, it's the whole, oh, I didn't see the tag. And then he was like, we didn't. And the ref goes, oh, okay. Like, what?
Weird.
Yeah. So then Pillman just kept going. So that I don't want to say it took me out, but I was like, really? So that match goes 16 minutes and 34 seconds. Then next we see a quick clip of Sting in a helicopter over what I initially thought was the Rocky Mountains, since that's where Vader's supposedly from. But then I think it's actually the Smoky Mountains, since they're in North Carolina. And we see Vader in snow. Is that right? And then Sting says, I wonder what this is all about. And then it goes back into the arena. Yeah. It's just like, what in the corny? What is happening?
They do these throughout the show where they're just like little quick clips. And it makes you go, what?
And here's the thing on those. Like, I like the concept of that because I enjoy the corniness to an extent. But, and we'll touch on this when we get to the main event. I just don't think it did anything for what actually ended up happening, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't, stay tuned. I'll make it make sense.
I'm sure there's some great footage somewhere of all the stuff they were filming, like leading up to it. Like, I'm sure that's all gold. They just didn't use it.
Correct. Yeah, I'm sure. So now we're back up to, or backstage with Missy Hyatt, who had said that she was going to be getting a big interview, but she didn't want to give a spoiler to who it was. So Missy Hyatt's backstage. We see a big white limousine pull up. Woo! Nature boy, Ric Flair comes out, who was right back in WCW from his little WWF stint. And he is making his return to WCW. So she's backstage and getting ready to get the interview, and she gets patted down and moved out. Ric Flair comes out of the limo and walks into the arena, and we cut back to the ring where we get the WCW debut of Chris Benoit versus Too Cold Scorpio. This match goes 19 minutes and 59 seconds. John, do you have any thoughts on the match?
I loved it.
I thought it was a fantastic match. I really did.
Too Cold in '93. That was fun. That was really fun for me to watch. And Benoit, and like watching him WCW debut or pay-per-view debut, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
In 1993, Chris Benoit was very. It just didn't feel like he didn't have the same look he does later on in his career. He looks, I mean, he's obviously younger. He's wearing like zebra type. I don't know what to call it. Zebra tights.
Something like that, yeah.
It was kind of goofy but weird, like blue
but
and black.
Not very early 90s.
Yeah, oh yeah. And he worked very similar to style to what he did his whole career.
Yeah.
So Too Cold and Benoit, I thought they put on a great little match, and they end it with a quick little flash pin with a second left. They get the 3 count. You said?
Yeah, it's crazy. So the notes that I've got for this match is so I got to go there. There's one spot in there on commentary where it just didn't age well. Jesse, in the early parts of the match, they're asking each other on commentary who do they think is going to win, and Jesse predicts that Benoit is going to win because he has a killer instinct.
Ooh.
Yeah. Shivani calls a spine buster a version of a sidewalk slam by Too Cold Scorpio, and I cracked up at that.
Did you catch what they called the Hart Family Dungeon?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
It was like the Hart Family Basement or something of terror. Which it appealed to me because this is 93, so Bret's in the title picture over in WWF, and they're referencing the Hart's family. So I thought that was like, oh, that's cool. They give the Hart family that respect, but you're reminding people that there's another company out there.
Yeah, true. Jesse also points out that there's yet another crab in this match, and he talks about how he's actually putting it on properly on this one. So yeah, it's obviously it's a time limit draw of 20 minutes, and they go 15 minutes and 59 seconds with a perfectly executed finish. I mean, it was exactly perfect, and kudos to both guys involved on that because especially for somebody making a debut, let's not forget, like that is, I mean, that's one of the things that came to my mind is, so the company must have that much faith in Chris Benoit already on his debut to be able to put that kind of stipulation on the match, and to make that the finish on his debut. Insane.
But not enough faith to give him the win.
True.
So I don't know. That's my thought is always.
There was nothing on the line. There was no title or anything, was there?
I mean, making a debut is first impression. It was a great match. It was a great showing.
True.
But would they have gone another minute and had a draw and, had them get in each other's face and set up for a future match? Would that have been better? Would it have been better just to put them up clean?
Right.
I don't know. Did they have plans for him in 93? Probably not.
Yeah. Good point. Next we go to the backstage area where Bischoff is pushing the WCW hotline. Dustin Rhodes is on the phone with next to Gordon Sully and Michael P.S. Hayes. And so then we get Bischoff back at the green screen audience type area.
So much bouncing around.
Yeah, it really is. It's which honestly it does make it seem like a bigger event. I'll say that with all the passing around, it does make it feel bigger. But Bischoff is interviewing Max Payne. Max plays an epitaph, which is taps, for Dustin Rhodes on his guitar, Norma Jean. So yeah, good stuff there. I like the little bit of character development for Max Payne. Seems like it's going somewhere. Next we get another WCW debut. We get the British Bulldogs debut with in a match versus Wild Bill Irwin. My notes for that is Bulldog with the running power slam for the win. Why have a squash match on a pay-per-view like this as a debut? Like, I just don't get that. This seems like the next, like, are they doing weekly TVs at this point on TNT?
In 93, I assume they're doing like the Saturday night TBS show.
Then that's what they should have put that on, in my opinion, is either before or the following week.
I don't know. People like Bulldog. They want to see him win. This is February.
He couldn't cut a promo to save his life.
Oh, yeah. The promo wasn't good. I'm here to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Oh.
Yeah. The heavy champion, heavy champion.
Yeah. Did you do the homework? Did you see why he was fired or why he left WWF?
I can't remember. I did not do the homework.
Okay.
I have an assumption, but I don't know if I'm right. So I'll let you.
What do you think?
Drugs.
Yeah. He left WWF at this time, according to Bret Hart's book. Him, Bulldog, and Ultimate Warrior were getting in like like hormone growth steroids.
Right.
And they both got fired for that right at a couple months prior. And that's why Bulldog was coming into WCW.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So.
Well, this is also, if I'm not mistaken, kind of around the era of the steroid trial and scandal and all that kind of stuff too. I think it was like 92, 93, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Basically. I
would have guessed a little later, but sure.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, I have it written. It stood out to me so badly. I have it written down. Shivani interviews Bulldog at ringside. Post-match, Bulldog has come to WCW for one reason: to win the World Championship Heavyweight Champion. Looking forward to Vader's match later against the Sting, and to getting the strap. I was like, wow, okay, all right, here we go.
My notes were Bulldog promo. Oh my.
Yeah. Yep. Accurate.
Between the match and the promo, there was another quick weird vignette with the Mastodon helmet on a table.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but have we started incorporating the ladies yet? I'm trying to remember. I don't have my pictures.
No, that's next. Later on.
So next up, we've got Cactus Jack. I'm sorry. Nope. Let me back up. Bischoff is interviewing Paul Orndorff backstage.
Before that.
Oh.
They threw to Johnny and Missy again. Then Eric and Orndorff.
Yeah.
Because like, bing, 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 bing.
It really was. It was like watching a tennis match.
Yeah.
So Bischoff is backstage and interviews Paul Orndorff. Cactus Jack is off camera, and you hear him just swinging something, and he comes into frame and he's swinging a shovel, a big old shovel, and he starts chasing Paul down ringside, and the match starts off. I literally have no notes written on this because I'm reliant completely on my pictures, which I don't have yet. So let me
well, I'll take you through it.
Okay.
So for me, the big stuff. This was really cool for me because I was not watching WCW in '93, but to see Paul Orndorff, who I remember from those early WrestleMania 1,
right?
That's like one of my main Paul Orndorff memories. Is early '80s Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful, and then Cactus, who I've seen like ECW, WCW, Japan stuff, but I mostly know Foley through his WWF run.
Same.
And seeing these two had a match kind of blew my mind, because it's like I did not expect these two eras to overlap at all.
Correct.
And I thought that was really awesome. I thought it was a snow shovel. Do you just think it's a regular shovel? I don't know. I kept thinking snow shovel the whole time.
Well, it's kind of not. So I grew up on
know.
a farm. It's a pooper scooper is what it is.
Sure, go for it. Yeah.
So it's that. It's imagine. Well, yeah. It's a big old shovel. So what's funny is you and I talked at the top of this that neither one of us had seen or know anything about this pay-per-view. So I went into it totally blind. I just hit play. I didn't, look down at any spoilers, anything. So when they go backstage and all of a sudden we're interviewing for our next match, Paul Orndorff, I'm thinking, oh man, here we go. Like, I feel like Paul's past his prime. And that's why, not that he is, I'm just saying mentally, I go back exactly like you did. WrestleMania 1. That's almost a decade ago. And so I'm like, gosh, whatever this is going to be a snooze fest. And then here comes Foley's, just swinging like a wild man. I'm like, oh, okay. Again, in 93, this match was insanely ahead of its time.
It wasn't all Foley either. Orndorff was awesome too.
Yes, he really was. So we've got all kinds of stuff going along outside of they were in and out of the ring, but there was a few spots that I wanted to bring up. So Foley's picking up the mat, and he very, very gently body slams Paul Orndorff onto the mat, which I was like, oh, that's sweet. But come on, can we wrestle? And then they did. So then from the outside, Mick Foley climbs the second turnbuckle, gives us a little bang bang, and goes for a sunset flip, completely overshoots it, and smacks his back so hard on the just exposed concrete. I was like, oh my gosh.
It was awesome.
It really was. It was insane. And obviously this is a false count anywhere match, by the way. So they go for a pin, doesn't work. They make their way up to the ringside, to the ramp area or whatever, and Paul Orndorff tosses him like a sack of potatoes over two barricade railings. Mick takes quite a bump on that.
Flying.
It was insane. The visuals in this match are just mind-blowing. Again, for 1993. If you don't think this is mind-blowing, flip the channel. And you're not going to see this stuff in WWF.
And it was like that throw over the two guardrails. They were like caddy corner, I guess.
Well,
and Foley
they made like a T. Yeah.
Foley just flies across both. Then they do another guardrail spot where Orndorff goes to just suplex Foley onto the guardrail as well. I was like, these guys are going for it
in the lower back. Oh, it was so nasty. Yeah, we're showing that right now. But so then once Foley is back on the other side of the railing, Paul Orndorff tries to get over the other side, finally does, and smashes Mick Foley's Cactus Jack. I gotta try and stay with the character that they're using at the time. So he smashes Cactus Jack's face into the railing like 2 or 3 times, and it is nasty. It's 100% unprotected. Mick's just going in head first. It's insane. So then we finally, thankfully, get back to the ring where Paul Orndorff has a figure 4 locked in on Cactus Jack. Cactus is struggling and trying not to tap out. And to get more leverage, Paul reaches for the second rope. And in a no disqualification match, the ref makes him stop.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are we doing? You could literally even see Orndorff yelling at him like, "What? We're good. It's fine." And he ends up breaking it anyway. So that was kind of awkward to me. So then from there, we get Foley standing on the apron, and Orndorff gives him a shot, and he flat backs from the standing on the apron to the floor outside. It was insane.
Yeah, Orndorff had been working, like, obviously Jared mentioned the figure 4. They pull off a knee brace off of Cactus, and Orndorff swings the knee brace, and that's when Cactus takes that. It felt like he was falling way longer than he really was. Like, from the apron on down to the mat, Cactus just kind of floats down and then crashes and explodes. That was in my notes. It was just crazy. While they're in the ring and stuff also, Orndorff is climbing to the second rope and jumping off there too. Like, not what I expected from these two at all.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Between the chair shots to the knee from Orndorff to Cactus, and the tearing off of the leg brace, the knee brace, and using that, it was. I mean, there were some visuals that were just insane, so ahead of its time. Then we finally get to the finish where that trusty old shovel makes its way back, and the one. So Cactus has taken all this crap, right? Paul has got one shot to take, and he overprotects it. And I'm like, you should have put your hands up a little later or a little closer to your face or something. But so it was what it was. Cactus Jack ends up getting the 1, 2, 3, and that's that match.
But it's so perfect, like thinking about the shovel shot. They tease it a little at the beginning. He's chasing him around, swinging and missing, and he finally connects at the very end, and that's your.
I love the storytelling of the shovel for sure. Yeah. It's just like a magician where you bring it out and then you're made to forget about it, and then it's like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, but for me, that sunset flip.
Oh, dude. yeah. I mean, just
crazy.
Oh, yeah. In my opinion, by the way, while we're here, match of the night.
Yeah.
And that one, by the way, goes 12 minutes and 17 seconds. Now we are back to our throw to crew with Johnny, Eric, and Missy.
I don't know if it's here or somewhere else in the show, but it's probably earlier on. Somebody mentions Johnny B. Bad looks like Little Richard. I can't unsee it.
You know what? You know, it's the whole gimmick, right?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't watching back then. I only knew him as the Wild Man, Mark Marrow. So
okay, no, I get that, but sorry,
I know.
I'm like, what? So did you just learn that this week?
I was today years old when I saw.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, wait a minute, there's something here I'm missing. Okay, got you. Yeah, no, I knew that. So Dusty was a big fan of Little Richard and was like, oh yeah, baby, you look a lot like Little Richard, see, and we're gonna make you Little Richard kind of like. So we need you to paint your face up like all pretty, see.
Yeah.
I got to work on my Dusty. Sorry. But I swear I can do better. And I'm pretty sure that was a Dustyism. So anyway, so next up we've got Jim Cornette with the Heavenly Bodies, and along with them is beautiful Bobby Eaton, and they're going to go against Ricky and Robert, the Rock and Roll Express. Before the match even is able to get started, though, and I was like, okay, so is this a 6-man or what is this? Why do we have 3 and 2? But fear not, because Bobby Eaton is ousted out immediately, and then we get on with the match. We got a couple crisscross spots. Actually, second one of the night. There was one in a previous match, I think in the other tag match. Corny ends up making his way up on the apron and gets tossed in the ring and takes his big bump. Eaton returns, interferes. Wrong. I don't know what my notes even say. Wrong person. Robert Gibson gets the win.
So the finish was same as that first tag match. That jump off the top and hit the arm, but
that's what it was. Yeah.
Who moved?
I don't know.
Stan Lane or Stan got hit. I don't know. But Rock and Roll Express got the win.
They did.
And my thoughts on this were Rock and Roll Express was super over with the rock and roll chants from the crowd. They looked great. They were a lot of fun to watch, and it really made me want to go back. And again, like 93, I was WWF in 93. It made me want to go back and watch more Rock and Roll Express because I always hear how great they are. And, you know, the matches I've seen have always been good, but this was a lot of fun to watch.
It was.
And it was a really good balance of they're going to do some fast-paced, high-energy, fun stuff after that brawl. So I thought that was a nice fit. Kind of, okay, well, we gave you a little hardcore match. Now we're going to give you some fun, high-energy tag team action. Yeah. And I thought that was a really nice flow to it.
Yeah. There was a specific move, too, where Ricky Morton is up on the shoulders of his opponent and getting ready to do a Hurricane Rana, basically. And he sits up on there, and then he does like this, like slap of the legs kind of thing, and tosses himself back in just a snap motion. I'm like, dude, you've got to be what, like upper 40s, 50 something by now? And I'm like, holy cow, didn't expect that.
Yeah.
I will say after the Cactus Jack match, I was like, this does feel kind of dated and slow comparatively. Not that it wasn't a good match. I don't mean that. I'm just saying.
It made me want to see Rock and Roll Express versus the Young Bucks.
That's interesting.
I mean, Rock and Roll in their prime, Young Bucks in their prime. That would have been the dream match.
That's fair. Yeah, for sure. So this match goes 12 minutes and 52 seconds. And yeah, that's that. So next up, we've got Sting in a cave with two girls. This cave is getting heavily populated.
Whatever.
Right, basically. So next up, we've got the U.S. Heavyweight Championship match with Max Payne making his way to the ring to go against the champion then, Dustin Rhodes. Commentary, by the way, was selling hard that Payne hadn't been training for Dustin. I guess this match was put together kind of last minute.
It was supposed to be Dustin versus Ron Simmons, I believe.
That's correct. Yeah. Yep. There's a couple spots in the match.
Well, before we get to that, what's your thoughts on Max Payne?
We'll get there. So far, up until right now, I'm like, okay, I'm open. Then the bell rang.
Okay, so he comes out wearing
he comes
this
across as bright green to me.
Yeah. But he comes out wearing like this fiery jacket, and he's like played the national anthem. He did a little thing backstage talking about Dustin. And then he takes off the jacket, and he looks like he's wearing stuff of day one wrestling school.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what? This? Like, what? It didn't make sense to me that...
That doesn't make sense, but you know what doesn't make even more sense than that? So, like you said, he opened the show with the national anthem, right? He's a heel. How are you booing somebody? Like, they literally were cheering for him when he's playing the national anthem. Yeah, America! And then they're like, oh, yeah, boo! What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's terrible booking. I get it. I will say, by the way, as a musician myself, he is a good guitar player. Like, it sounded great. He did fine. It did make me hate him. So there's that. He's coming in the match with absolutely zero heat.
Oh.
Coming into the match with zero heat. He gains it. Don't worry. And it's not from being a good heel. It's from being a bad worker. So I really don't have a whole lot of notes on this match. We get a lariat from Dustin Rhodes, which I thought looked really good. Then he kind of fires up. You know, he does the into the crowd, and the crowd's just sitting here.
He looked young.
He really did.
Yeah, the natural.
Yeah. We get him in an abdominal stretch, and rather than Max Payne tapping out, he just pulls the referee into him, which results in a disqualification. And yeah. So after the match too, they're outside, and Max Payne puts Dustin up on his shoulder to give him a shoulder breaker, and it was horrible. Yeah. It did not look good at all. That's literally all I wrote down. That's all I had in me to write down for that match.
Max Payne, never again.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm with you on the attire though. It didn't really look good. And honestly, even Dustin with his Hogan-like look.
Yeah. I was like, is this Hogan with dusty boots?
Right. Even his trunks looked saggy and stuff on him. And I know it's like he's young and stuff. And I'm like, man, he really looks like a baby. And then I'm like, oh yeah, his pants are saggy too. That's why. So after this match, We go back to the cave. And Sting is there with his with two girls, not his girls, but some girls. And then we get Vader in a mirror. Vader in a mirror, and he's like this, he's getting ready to flex. He goes to hit the flex, brother, and the mirror shatters. I'm like, what are we even doing here? When do caves get installed? Get mirrors installed in them? I didn't know it was a thing. So I never knew I needed it in my life, but I'm glad it kind of happened. We go back to the Throw To crew. Again, this is like the 8th time it feels like. I don't even remember what they're talking about at this point. But next up, we've got Ric Flair coming to the ring with security, if that's what you want to call it. Secret Service looking folk.
Crowd went nuts for Flair.
Dude, it was insane. It was so nice to see. And I'm sure it felt good for Flair to be back where he belongs. And to be right there on top. I mean, without even opening his mouth. As soon as he re-signed with WCW, instantly he's the #1 guy in the company. It's insane. It's a drawing power of Ric Flair. So then he goes to ringside with, again, a very babyface Tony Schiavone. And babyface, I don't mean heel and babyface. I mean, he looks like a baby. I'm trying to remember, John, what was he talking about in that interview?
Fell out already. Talking about Flair?
Yeah.
Just being back in WCW, I believe.
I think that was about it.
Yeah.
So much for my notes. So next up, we've got, so then from there he goes and sits down at the commentary table and takes over commentary. Well, adds to commentary for this next match with the NWA heavyweight title. The old Ric Flair, the big gold, baby. So first out, we've got Barry Windham making his way to the ring with one heck of a looking haircut, man. 1993 is hitting hard. And
I like his hair.
You gotta be kidding.
You've got the same haircut. Maybe not. Maybe a little different.
I mean, are we? How are you gonna say that and then say I can't cuss? Oh my God, I do not. So it was like, it's not even a mullet. And by the way, I don't have any sort of a mullet. He had like this bowl cut from here into a bowl cut into a mullet.
You both have a ponytail.
Oh golly!
Next week we'll have a new host.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna be gone.
Oh God, that's too funny. Yeah, again with the worst haircut in all of 1993, Barry Windham makes his way to the ring.
I thought he looked great.
More on that later. Next out, we've got the great Muta, who was the current.
Looked great.
He did. Who was the current NWA heavyweight champion. Muta had a very unique look, especially in comparison to everything else on the card. It really stood out. I was like, oh, nice. And then when he takes the hood off and has the red face paint in the ring, I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is totally different. So good stuff. Then the bell rang, and a match happened.
Man, I was excited for this one too.
And then it was over.
Sleeper. Not us. They did sleeper hold after sleeper hold after sleeper.
Which, to be honest with you, and again, I'm glad that we got to cover this, but in this era, this is what makes wrestling so hard for me to go back and watch, is all those sleepers. Golly, I'm like, it's like a people talk about how overused like a super kick is now. I'm like, there were sleepers in every match, and not even just one. In a lot of occasions, it was multiples, and this was one of those. Nothing really in this match at all stood out to me. There was one moment where Muta gets thrown to the outside, and he's been selling and stuff, and all of a sudden he's like, ah! And he gets this burst of energy. I'm like, okay, good, here we go. We need this. And then immediately gets in the ring and it's killed off. And I'm like, okay, and we're back to sleeping. So
I expected way more from this one. This one really made me sad.
Yeah, same. Now I will say that Barry was working his butt off. That wonderful haircut that you liked so well was sopping wet by the end of the match. So there's that. We get a lariat, a DDT, and a win with a new champion, Barry Windham.
The crowd popped for the DDT, not really the DDT, but the 3 count. I don't know if they popped because Barry won or if they were just happy it was over, but yeah. The crowd was excited to see a title change.
Yep. So, by the way, throughout this whole show, all these cave shots and all this are building up to
the White Castle?
The White Castle of Fear match.
When they said White Castle, I was all on board. I was like,
burgers!
Brawl in a White Castle restaurant? Like, let's go.
Oh, that's funny.
I thought maybe it'll be like some crazy cinematic, like King Arthur goofy match. And
so you're saying exactly what I was setting up. Yep, you're saying exactly what I was setting up at the beginning of the show with all these cave shots and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, this is the perfect time to do your cinematic match, like what we know nowadays. Whether it's at a castle or in a cave or on a studio lot or whatever you got to do. And so I'm like, okay, this I'm writing this down. What's it called? The
White Castle.
White Castle of Fear.
I don't even call it a fear. I was just excited. Every time I heard White Castle, I perked up.
Oh, you are a St. Louis boy, aren't you?
Yeah.
So what's funny is it doesn't happen anywhere near a castle. There's it happens in a ring and the arena. And in fact, it's not even just a White Castle of Fear match. You ready for this? It's a White Castle of Fear match, lights out leather strap match for the isn't it for the title?
Number 1 contender?
Number 1 contender. Yeah, something. Yeah. It's for something. I don't know. It's to determine a winner.
We already had the title match.
Right. So two. Yeah, I guess let's just get into this. First of all, this match has too many damn names. Why do we have a White Castle of Fear lights out leather strap match? And the lights are on, by the way.
Why do we have a White Castle match without a White Castle?
Hello. So yes, this is obviously going to be.
Even if you're just going to build the stage to look like a White Castle.
Yep.
Like
make it corny. It's all right. Anything. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just Like I would to equate this to something. This would rank lower than a Chicago street fight in Chicago or a Baltimore street fight in Baltimore. Like I get if you're doing a name for the sake of the city you're in, and I'm not from Asheville, Kentucky, so I don't know if there's a White Castle around
North
there.
Carolina?
Isn't that where it's at? Is that what I said?
You said Kentucky. You see Cornette and you just go to Kentucky?
Yeah, sorry about that. North Carolina.
I know where your head's
North
at.
Kakalaki.
I'm following you.
Thanks for the save, brother. So yeah, this is going to be so gruesome. Not me on this podcast, but the match that WCW is not going to sanction. It's washing its hands of this match. It has nothing to do with it. So we get Sting out to the ring and Vader with Harley Race, which I have heard so much about. Never actually got to see a lot of that interaction. I thought that pairing worked really well. So
he didn't wear the mastodon out.
Yeah, that was kind of, so I knew that about Vader a lot. So without having to watch any of it, knowing that the two things that he ditched the most were that the helmet thing, and he would just set it down at the ramp and it would do its smoky thing, whatever, cool. But also in this era, and it drove me nuts, as a masked wrestler, he would always try to get his mask off and just be, what the hell is his name?
Frankie Stechino's father.
Leon White. Leon White, Castle of Fear. Oh, maybe that's the White. I don't know. I got nothing, man. I'm trying to connect dots that just aren't there. So, let's see here. We get all kinds of great high flying spots from Sting. He jumps off the top rope, does a couple of body splashes onto Vader. Harley gets up on the apron at ringside, and Sting slaps him down. There's a toss to the outside by Sting to Vader. Gnarly, because Harley Race blades Vader's back. This is so crazy. And then here's where it was like, oh, wow, that's really cool, kind of. And then Vader gets the strap and takes it to Sting, and Sting's totally just fine. No blood, no nothing. I was like, okay, well, that's kind of weird.
He got it eventually.
He did. Yeah, on the face. So we get to, there was another spot in the match that was really cool. A German suplex from Sting to Vader, and I was impressed by that. That looked really nice. There's a lot of working towards the corners and stuff because it's obviously being a leather strap match. You have to hit all four corners consecutively, which commentary did a great job of explaining and walking people through that if they hadn't seen it before. So Sting finally gets his comeuppance and gets Vader cornered in the corner and starts just waylaying the heck out of him with right hands. And this is a spot where also we end up ripping the mask off and stuff, which in turn of all of that, Vader starts bleeding like a pig from the ear. Like, I mean, just, so much.
Before that, Vader had Sting in the corner and was throwing punches one after another. Boom, boom, boom,
dude,
boom,
those
boom.
Are insane. Those are really good looking.
Yeah. He went to town on him. I enjoyed that. I think that's where Sting got his color. No?
He blades. Oh, yeah. Okay. Here's a picture right here. Yeah. So, and he did it really well. And I actually had the picture of that on purpose because he's selling. He's got it in his right hand the whole time as he's like leaned on the ropes and he's taking all these hits and stuff. And as he's going down, it's just done and down. And it was really clean, really quick, right in front of everybody. But if you don't know, you wouldn't have known. So yeah, he totally bladed.
But yeah, Vader got all his shots in, and then they switch it around, and Sting gets his in, and that's the mask getting ripped off. And yeah, you weren't kidding. He was bleeding a bunch from the ear.
Yeah. Then, extremely impressively, Sting picks a 450-pound Vader up on his shoulders and starts going from post to post. 1, 2, 3.
While the ref's down.
Right. Yes, the ref has been knocked down, and as he makes his way to the fourth corner, the referee collapses, and which causes all of them to topple over Sting and Vader, and so the momentum is broken. He doesn't make it.
It looks like Harley gets a hand in there too.
Yeah. So now that they've stumbled over, Vader is made his way back to his feet and is starting to pull. To take Sting around, and in order to stop him from going to the fourth one, he's holding onto the ropes, and that's where Harley Race is hitting him on the hands and stuff to try to get him to break. And finally, it does whatever happens, and Vader goes back into the fourth corner, and there's the end of your match. Yeah, and then it shows Vader's nasty ear as Harley races up on the ring, and crazy.
And you're winner, Vader.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought this was a great match. I thought they had great chemistry. I really didn't expect it to be this good, and it was. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I like the finish a lot.
Yeah, same. There was also another spot in the match too that just came to my mind where Sting goes to the top rope or second rope, whatever, one of the ropes, and you could visibly see Vader call the spot off. Whatever it is he's getting ready to hit, he hollers at the ref. Vader hollers at the ref, and then you see the ref go up to Sting, and then Sting just step back down. I was like, well, this is weird. So that was kind of an odd thing. But so after the match, where do we go, John? We go back to the Throw To crew, where Missy and Johnny B. Bad are talking about, well, they got to go. They don't want to miss a party, and they got to go reapply their makeup or something like that. Yeah. So then they're out. Barry Windham, the new NWA heavyweight champion, comes up to Eric and is interviewed with Eric, and wants to talk about his new title. And then we roll credits, which I'm a fan of. I enjoy people that are hard at work in the company getting their props to make all this come together. And without giving anything away, John, I know that you were today years old when you learned that about the Johnny B. Bad character. Did you notice anything else in the credits?
Yeah, Virgil.
Okay, well, there's that. Anything else?
Virgil Runnels is the only thing I noticed.
Did you notice what the very last thing that you saw was in the credits?
No, I didn't make it that far.
This is Eric Bischoff's debut pay-per-view as executive producer of WCW.
Yeah, okay.
So again, this is, and I've listened to enough Eric Bischoff podcast episodes, and they've covered this exact topic, by the way, to know and to clarify. This does not mean he's got the checkbook. He's not hiring and firing and writing and etc. He is only in charge of like how the pay-per-view looks, the flow of the pay-per-view, that kind of thing. So that was his debut of this. Another, by the way, thing of note on this pay-per-view is this was supposed to have been Jim Ross's last pay-per-view in WCW, but it is not. He is gone, and we're getting ready to see him debut in a month or two in WWF at WrestleMania 9 in Las Vegas, Nevada. So
yeah,
another interesting, just to kind of, and it's always interesting to me to try and remind myself that timeline of what was happening parallel to each other in both companies. So
yeah,
pretty crazy. So John, what did you think of the main event? What did you think of the pay-per-view overall?
Main event, I really liked. Pay-per-view as a whole, I'm glad I watched it. This was something I would not have gone out of my way to watch without suggestion to watch it.
Yep.
It was cool to see like Too Cold Scorpio and Benoit in '93. It was cool to see Pillman and Austin together. Bulldog making his WCW debut. I enjoyed seeing that. Paul Orndorff and Cactus Jack.
Dude.
Still loving that.
Yes.
Rock and Roll Express. It made me want to see more Rock and Roll Express. It made me want to see less Max Payne. I could have, if you decide to watch this, skip that.
If you don't decide to watch it, I highly recommend that Paul Orndorff and Cactus Jack match.
Yeah. Barry Windham and Muta, I had high hopes.
I really, dude, I expected that to like blow the roof off.
I did, the same. And Sting and Vader was a fun main event. It was solid. With a really creative finish that felt like it was a real... Back before wrestling gets overproduced, like it can be now, this felt like a really real finish to a real fight. And that was cool to see. And Vader and Sting, I thought, worked really well together. Rebooking the show, Muta and Barry, I don't know. If they could have just gone short with it, I think. If the goal is to put the title on Barry and you're just going to do... How long was it? 16 minutes? 19 minutes?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, just put the title on Barry and strap a rocket to him, because that wasn't what I wanted.
Although it did, I will say this, it did make me want to watch the next, what I would assume was going to be next anyway, which was Ric Flair versus Barry Windham.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I would have wanted is, I would have liked a longer Flair promo with like a proper entrance and...
Yeah.
The crowd wanted more Flair. I wanted more Flair.
Yep.
And you didn't have to have him wrestle, but you could have had him do something more.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been better. All the cutscenes, I would have liked less.
Yeah. There was no payoff to that.
Yeah. And like the whole main event, the gimmick behind it. I mean, paint the ring up like a castle with four corners. I don't know, something. Like, you had that gimmick with it. You could have done something with it.
Here's the deal. Imagine how much money they spent on putting Sting in a helicopter and getting those shots, finding whatever, scouting locations for a cave, doing the wherever they'd shot the mirror and all of that stuff, the inside scenes of the cave. Why put all that money and effort into that, and then literally there's no payoff for the live crowd and for the live people watching? Like, it just swing and a miss.
If you would have cut Barry in a Muta short, knowing it was going to be Dolesville, you could have had like a really nice production video beforehand of that, or a couple longer ones throughout the show with a long one leading to the match or something. And then if you have that video there, you've got time to set the ring up for whatever gimmick you're going to do.
Yep.
I don't know. What would you have changed?
As far as flow, for the most part, there's nothing as far as what order matches and all that. Like, I feel like they did that well. Again, I don't think I would have even had the Bulldog Jobber match on the pay-per-view. I just don't think it needed it. I think he could have got a bigger impact, like on that weekly TV show, whether it was the week after or the day before the pay-per-view, however that could have been. But
I mean, you could have had him run down and kill Muta and Windham or something.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing too, right? There's a lot of ways to keep him strong without even having to do a match, and that's a perfect example.
Or if Ron Simmons is out with an injury, let's not do Max Payne. Let's do Bulldog and Dustin and see where that goes. I think that could have been much more enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, and it would have been a nice carryover with the story and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I think obviously there were some matches in here that really stood out that I on paper I was like, I don't know how this is going to go, and I was thoroughly surprised. I think this is kind of one of those perfect examples, John, of we always talk about the roller coaster ride that we want people to go on. This card had that. It had the good or bad or indifferent, but the highs like, wow, I didn't expect this, and then like, is this over yet? Wow, that was great. That kind of, it was just a constant change of emotions in that. So I guess that's a positive to try to put a positive spin on it. Yeah, I'm like you though, John. There's nothing that I would have, if I was just randomly scrolling through the network or something, I would have never, nothing was enticing enough for me to want to click it. But I am also the same as you, glad that we ended up watching it. So yeah. So again, shout out to Nick. Thank you very much for the suggestion. If you guys have any other suggestions, be sure to hit us up. You can find us here on YouTube. We also have a Facebook page, Recliner Wrestling Review. You can send an email to reclinerwrestlingreview@gmail.com. You can get all your audio-only episodes at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, or wherever you get all your audio, interview, podcasty type things.
I knew there was a bean.
Yeah, there's a bean. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this awesome episode of Recliner Wrestling Review. Tune in next week as we do something else. So, John, well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to call in the ring, brother.
Yeah.
John, thanks again for your time, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.